The accuracy of eyewitness testimonies. Eyewitness testimony is a legal term. It refers to an account given by people of an event they have witnessed. My team concluded that eyewitness testimonies are mostly inaccurate since the 1990s when DNA testing was first introduced. In the study, beliefs and data on the relationship between consistency and the accuracy of eyewitness testimonies, the purpose of the study was to see how potential jurors view the relationship between the accuracy and consistency of eyewitness testimonies, particularly in relation to other witness behaviors identified in text as predictors of accuracy. The second part of the study's purpose was examining the relationship between consistency and the accuracy of their testimonies. The total number of participants was 180 undergraduates and college employees from Goldsmith College, University of London. 144 were female and 36 were male, with a mean range of 24.41 years and an age range of 18 to 57 years old. Researchers found that a relatively mild suggestion from a fake psychic that bent a key and continued to bend it after it had been placed on a table led to a substantial amount of false testimonies. The findings that was found in the study were correct. They found that a little bit of suggestion from an outside source and or another witness has a substantial effect of a person's own decision and testimony. There is no suggestion for future research. In the study, The Magic in Memory, using conjuring to explore the effects of suggestion, the purpose of these studies were to see the relationship between the consistency and the accuracy of eyewitness testimonies and how magic can affect the memory and judgment in eyewitness testimonies. Participants were 69 undergraduate volunteers, 16 male, 53 female, from the Flinders University of South Australia. All were eligible for selection for jury duty. They found that the potential jurors viewed witness statements that were inconsistent with the earlier statements as stronger indicators of inaccurate testimony. There were not any suggestions for further research. In the study, the effects of age and eyewitness of the accuracy and suggestibility of their testimonies, the purpose of this study was to compare the reliability of children, young adults, and elderly as eyewitnesses in terms of their accuracy in non-misleading circumstances and their suggestibility in misleading circumstances within a single experiment. The total number of participants in this study was 147. They were split into three groups: children, young adults, and elderly. Children were aged 7 to 9, young adults were aged 16 to 19, and elderly were aged 7 to 85. Participants went through three phases. The first phase, the subject watched a short video. For phase 2, they were asked to answer 17 questions based on the video. Phase 3, the subjects were asked to answer another 20 questions on the video. Researchers found that both young children and elderly people gave significantly more incorrect responses and answers compared to young adults. These results demonstrated that both immature cognitive development and advanced age can, under this experiment, significantly reduce the reliability of eyewitness testimonies. They found that their hypothesis was correct. Young children and elderly perform less accurately than young adults. One implication of these results is the fact that all young adults were in college and or secondary education program. There were no suggestions for further research in this article, but personally I felt they should try and do the same study in multiple locations to get some young adults that aren't currently enrolled in a second education program. In the study, Alcohol and Remembering the Hypothetical Sexual Assault, can people who were under the influence of alcohol during the event provide accurate testimony? The purpose of the study was to see if people who were under the influence of alcohol can provide accurate eyewitness testimony. The participants in the study included 88 women aged 18 to 31. The participants went through 7 phases. Phase 1 was an online pre-screening. Phase 2 was a laboratory screening. Phase 3, beverage manipulation. Phase 4, sexual assault scenario. Phase 5, a memory test. Phase 6 was a debriefing, and finally Phase 7 was a second memory test. Researchers found that intoxicated women remember less than sober women, but nonetheless still have memory of the event. These findings suggest that intoxicated women victims can provide an accurate information to the police, at least within the circumstances of the study. One implication that arose in the study was the fact that everyone's alcohol tolerance is different, so they were unable to get an accurate result. There are 3 avenues they suggested to take if you were to redo this experiment. 1. being using a cognitive interview to really see what the brain does. Secondly, there needs to be more research on how people initially process and the rehearse central versus peripheral information. Lastly, is that intoxicated participants may report less than sober participants. To study the effect of cross-examination of the accuracy of adult eyewitness testimonies. The purpose was to test how cross-examination affected eyewitness testimonies. Eyewitness testimony is already very malleable and can differ simply with time. Under the pressure of aggressive questioning, witnesses can change previously accurate statements. This form of questioning makes children eyewitness extremely susceptible to changing their answers. In order to test the study, researchers had 22 students participate, 18 females and 4 males aged 18 to 44. Participants were asked to watch a video of a car thief, some of which were paired together and some alone. Those that were paired together talked about what they had been unaware that they had seen, slightly different versions of the video. After a period of 4 weeks, the witnesses were then cross-examined by a trainee barista. They found that in the co-witness group, 73% had added at least one memory that only their other co-witness could have seen. The control group had none of the additional information. Of the 73% that incorporated other information to their testimony, 36 changed their answer, 23 changed 2 answers, 14 changed 3 answers, and none participant changed all 4 answers. They also came to find that delays had a significant impact on testimonies. It was found that those who were not given misleading information had a decrease in the accuracy of the information under cross-examination. Those that were given misleading information showed no difference in the correct and incorrect information they gave under cross-examination. Under cross-examination, witnesses were not found to be more likely to report something they didn't see or fail to report something they did see. The analysis relied on 2 forms of questioning, thus limiting the capability of the experiment. In the study, extracting the truth from conflicting eyewitness reports, the study looks at how multiple eyewitnesses are handled in a case. A common means of utilizing multiple eyewitness testimonies is the majority rule. This method ignores the differences in each witness's statements and utilizes the answer shared by most eyewitnesses as the correct answer. In this study, an alternative method is tested based on cultural consensus theory. This method accounts for the differences in the eyewitness's knowledge. This method is also known as the GCM method, General Condorcet Model. 30 undergraduate students, 22 of which were female and 8 of which were male, with an age range of 18 to 28, participated in the study. Students were showed one of 2 versions of a heated argument between 2 people. The videos differed in the amount of information relevant to the event. Participants then answered questions about the information they gathered from the event. Through the GCM method of testing, they found that 83.63% of the answers given were correct in comparison to the majority rule, 80.90% of the answers were correct. The GCM method is 2.73% more accurate than the majority's rule. Through this method, there could be more accurate use of multiple eyewitness testimonies. The purpose of the study, the ability of prospective jurors to estimate the accuracy of eyewitness identification, was to investigate whether people's common knowledge is sufficient enough to enable them to accurately assess the validity of evidence based upon eyewitness reports. While most participants were contacted by phone directory, they were asked to take a physical survey and send the survey back through mail. More than 2/3 of the respondents believe that in general, eyewitnesses' identification are correct more than 50% of the time. That is regardless of sex, education, age, or juror experience. The majority of the participants also seemed unaware of the sources of error associated with this kind of testimony. As for this kind of experimentation, the researchers found exactly what they were looking for and came to the conclusion that eyewitness testimonies do have their faults, but even an expert of these matters would not invade the province of the jury, but would help the case further the cause of justice. So no further research would be required to these studies. When looking if language affects eyewitness testimonies, you must take into consideration the kind of obstacles you face. If you speak a different language, it can be difficult to understand what is said during and after the said events take place. What is said can affect how you testify greatly. The people who participated were a total of 66 students, who were 16 men and 50 women based between the ages of 19 and 62. The participants were instructed to imagine that they witnessed the event in the film in reality, and to recall and report a testimony as comprehensive and detailed as possible. Research on eyewitness testimonies is ample and poses difficulties in providing accurate and credible testimonies on crime events. Overall, the results of the present study on the extent of provided accurate and inaccurate details information between three conditions showed no significant differences across all memory testing: free recall, cued recall, and recognition. Further investigation on the topic with rigor and robust methods should be conducted to test whether the trends toward negative effects of language barriers are evident and worrisome. Clearly, more ample forensic psychological research on eyewitness testimonies is needed. Upon reading numerous different research studies involving the accuracy of eyewitness testimonies, my team has concluded that eyewitness testimonies are inaccurate and should be only utilized under certain circumstances. The damage that has been done by inaccurate eyewitness testimonies is too great to consider eyewitness testimonies as usable in a court of law. Many people have lost years, even decades of their life to the repercussions of inaccurate testimony.